What's up, 2K nerds? John Marcus here. We're going to break down today's ratings update by 2K. They released their second ratings update of the year. A staggering 223 players had overall rating changes. That's the majority of the NBA. There's only about 450 players in the NBA at any given time, so they got most of the healthy rotation players going up or down. If you want the full list, the link to those is posted in the description. Most of them are just like plus one, minus ones. That's simply week to week statistical fluctuation. I wouldn't read too much into that. Rather, the bigger story is a number of rookies that have been getting solid rating boosts now that we've seen a solid month's worth of production out of them. So we're going to go through, and I'm going to be clicking through players like basketball reference profiles and just throwing information in your face to give you an idea of why players went up or down. So just a quick glance at the Sixers, and the only major player change that they had was Tyrese Maxey. He went up 4 points. Maxey's been averaging 11 points this year, and he entered the starting lineup a couple games ago once everybody got derailed with COVID complications. So as a starter, he's averaging 30 minutes per game, averaging 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 47% from the field in his 6 starts. So he has been productive, and he's going to continue to have a major role with the team, even once Seth Curry and everybody else is good to go. Let's head over to the Bucks. No major changes for the Bucks, but they did have 10 edits here, as guys like Brook Lopez went down 2 points, Bobby Portis went up 2 points, etc. Again, it's all in the link. Ditto for the Bulls. They had 7 changes. Just a quick review there. Cavs, same deal. Colin Sexton's been playing well, but they'd already accounted for that in a previous update. And I did notice, I critiqued 2K last 2 weeks ago for like not having their injuries right, and they activated Darius Garland and Dylan Windler, which is kind of odd because they have not resumed playing, and I don't think there's been any indication that they're healthy or anything. Like Dylan Windler broke his wrist in the first game of the season, and there's been no news update on him, so I don't know why he's active. And Garland's been out since the last update with a shoulder injury, and yeah, I don't know. Going to the Celtics, Peyton Pritchard. He's a +3, 76 overall. He was +3 in the last update, so he's gone up 6 points in the last month. He's been the Celtics' best backup throughout the year. He's averaging 8 points on 49% shooting, also averaging 3 assists, 90% from the free throw line, 44% on threes. Just really solid, efficient play for him. And we had covered before that he was a 4-year college player, so he's a little bit ahead of the curve compared to like some of the raw college players, or like the raw rookies that only had like 1 year of experience that essentially didn't have a training camp or summer league to go through. So the guys with more experience are naturally playing a little bit better to start the year. We're going to go over to the Clippers. Paul George, he went up to a 90 overall. Lou Williams dropped under an 80 for the first time in a while. He's only a 79. Grizzlies. John Conchar went up 3 points. He hasn't had any like standout game or anything. Rather, just his overall production doesn't reflect being like a 72. He has an 18.5 player efficiency rating for his career, 65% true shooting. He's a great rebounder for a guard, puts up good steal, blocks, and assist numbers. So, I mean, the overall rating is a product of your statistical production, and it would make sense that his rating would go up because of that. And then Xavier Tillman, he went up 6 points in this update. I believe he's the biggest mover in the update, but he's averaging 9 points on 56% shooting per 36 minutes. That's 15 points. So he's effectively carved out a solid backup role. Brandon Clark has moved into the starting lineup with the injury to Jaren Jackson Jr. So Tillman is essentially filling Clark's role from last year and having a lot of success with it. And 76, I think, is fine. 70, would have been one of the lowest rated guys on the team. Jonte Porter also dropped by 3 points, but that has nothing to do. He hasn't played at all. That's just because they switched his position from power forward to center, as each position has a different overall scale. Going over to the Hawks, they have a lot of significant changes, I guess. Mostly just -2s and +2s. But Trae Young, he went down to an 87. He's really been struggling since the last update. Bogdanovich, he got hurt, but he was also struggling, and they dropped him to like a 76. I think that's way too low, but we're not going to spend a ton of time on it. Now, Nathan Knight, he's a +3 in this update, but it's primarily off of a game that was played a month ago. Back on December 26th, he scored 14 points in 8 minutes on 4 of 5 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3, 4 of 5 from the line. So really solid garbage time outing for him. But he hasn't played very much at all since then. He's only scored 3 points since then. So he's really just being updated because of that one game that he had. Okay, checking out the Heat. 7 changes for them, none of them major. Bam went up a point. She was up 2 points. Olynyk down 2 points. Going to the Hornets. Probably the biggest development, I would say, for them is LaMelo Ball. He's a +3. He had the youngest triple-double in NBA history, I believe, a couple games ago. And he's thoroughly outplayed Devontae Graham, who dropped 2 points in this update. So I think that LaMelo should eventually become the starter this year. And if he does, he's probably going to run away with Rookie of the Year. On the year, he is averaging 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists in only 25 minutes a game. He's shooting 40% from the field, 33% from 3, 68% from the line. We knew that the shooting percentages would be an issue, but other than that, his production's great. He rebounds like a center, which is pretty important since they have a small backcourt. And his assist rate, where does that rank? Is 7th in the NBA right now. He also has the 6th best steal percentage in the league as well. So overall, very productive player, and kind of living up to the Jason Kidd comparison that I would have levied him prior to his NBA debut. So interesting to see how far he moves forward. And let me know in the comments, where do you see LaMelo ending the season at overall wise? Do you think he'll hit like an 85 overall, or has he peaked? Do you think he's going to drop? Do you think Devontae Graham's going to rebound from his early season struggles and keep LaMelo glued to the bench? Let me know. But that's their major development. Let's move on to the Utah Jazz. Mike Conley has gone up in every single update this year. He's an 84 overall, and I believe he started the year at like a 79. And he's +2. The week before that, he was +2. He's playing really well this year, and basically like his old Grizzlies self, and the Jazz are playing very well as a result. But Bojan Bogdanovic, he has not played like himself. He's a -3 in this update, which is, I think that's still way too low. You have to factor in the player's history a little more, I think. And yes, he's struggling. This is probably the worst year he's ever had. He's averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, only shooting 39% from the field, but his 3-point percentage has kind of come around, and I don't know. I just don't anticipate him. This 76 is not going to hold up. He's going to be back up to like a 79 in short order, I think. But for now, sure, I guess it makes sense. Let's go over to the Kings, who had a bunch of changes. They had 10 player changes. The most significant of which is Tyrese Halliburton, who's probably the 2nd best rookie this year after LaMelo Ball. And the Kings, it's crazy. The Kings took him 12th overall. Usually they're taking somebody terrible in the draft that doesn't pan out, but he's probably the steal of the draft at number 12. 11 points per game, 5 assists per game, only 1.4 turnovers, so his AT ratio is great for a rookie. He's shooting 50% from the field, 49% from three. Like it's not often that you see this type of efficiency from like a rookie point guard. Yes, he's at the 2 technically, but like he plays like a point guard on the floor. And he's outplayed Buddy Hield throughout the year. So Halliburton, he was angling to become a starter during preseason, and if Hield continues to struggle, and the team continues to struggle, they may make that switch before too long. Hield is also down 2 in this update for what it's worth. Let's move on to the New York Knicks. Let's see. Julius Randle, he's up 2 points, and Emmanuel quickly, there he is, found him quickly enough. Hey. He's been the best point guard on the team this year. He's averaging 10 points a game, shooting 34% from 3. Nothing crazy, but like that's the best point guard on the Knicks. Like that's just how it is. Per 36 minutes, he's averaging 20 points though, so he isn't much of a playmaker, more or less in like the Eddie House type of microwave shooter off the bench. So, but the Knicks, that actually works out for them because Julius Randle is essentially the point guard on this team. He's got like a 32% assist rate, so that's effectively a point guard in terms of on-ball responsibility. Let's go over to the Lakers. LeBron's down a point. Oh my God, sky's falling. Oh my God, AD's down a point. Oh my God, sky's falling. Like, whatever, guys. The big news, they have 11 guys on the team that fluctuated in rating this week. But Talen Horton-Tucker is or did I say Torton-Tucker? Talen Horton-Tucker. He's +3. He's been playing, he's in the rotation, and he wasn't last year, so it would make sense for his rating to go up. He did have one solid performance, but on the year, he's averaging 7 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists in only 16 minutes a game. And I think it was against the Rockets where he had this good game, right? Yeah, against the Rockets, he had 17 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, and shot 7 of 8 from the field. So that was more or less his breakout game. Not the most efficient player in the world, though, as in the 4 games since then, or 3 games since then, he's shot 2 of 14 from the field. So, when you evaluate players, don't just look at the highs. You also have to look at the lows. Let's go on over to the Magic. Nick Vucevic, he's up a point. He's having a great year, realistically. Like if you look at his numbers, he's not too far off from like Dirk Nowitzki, but lots of minor fluctuation on the team. Gary Clark randomly is the only player that dropped in rating just by 3 points, and it's because his stats just like suck. He's shooting 26% from the field, 21% on threes. This pretty much the only thing he does on the court. So yeah, like that's not rocket science, that one. The Mavericks, they had the least amount of player updates this week. Only 4 updates, but also they're the only team that had all of those updates are also positive. Brunson went up a point, James Johnson up 2, Kleba up 1, and Trey Burke went up 1. Nobody went down in this update. Going over to the Nets. They just got James Harden. He's down a point. That's mainly based off of what he did with the Rockets. If you think that he was sandbagging it, similar to like what Vince Carter was doing when he wanted to get his trade from the Raptors, or just any other star in NBA history who was unhappy, Jimmy Butler, I think. If you don't try hard, your stats won't look good. So now that he's going to try a little hard, he probably will go back up. Worth noting that even though he's a 2 guard, he's essentially going to be the point guard on this team. Let's head over to the Nets. The Big 3 played last night. They lost to Cleveland because as they can't stop anybody, even though they have 3 all-time great offensive players. So just reading off the lines from that game, Harden had 21 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds. He triple-doubled and had double-digit assists. KD had 38 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists himself, while Kyrie, he came back in the mix. He had 37 points and only 3 assists. So Kyrie's going to operate more as a 2 guard, whereas James Harden's going to be the primary ball handler. At least that's how it looks going off of that first game. So you can probably expect Harden's pass ratings to continue to be high, whereas Kyrie's production actually looks like it might be the one to slip. As just in general, I would consider him a worse playmaker than Harden overall, and more of a great on-ball scorer per se. So let's go on. Oh, sorry, there were actually a couple players that moved up and down. TLC went down 3 points. I don't know. Let me actually get to the bottom of that one, as I don't necessarily agree. But he was starting earlier in the year, and he's shooting 39% from the field. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened in the last. The last update was on January 7th, and he had 3 double-figure scoring games since then. In the last 3 games, he only scored 3 points combined on the 1 of 12 shooting. But I mean, that doesn't cancel out the rest of his games. In the other 4 games that compiled the sample, he shot 39%, 38% from 3, averaged 10 points though in 21 minutes. But let's not nitpick too much there. But Reggie Perry, he's up 3 points. He's been in the rotation as the Nets don't have any other healthy centers. He should be a center, not a power forward. But he had a game where he had 11 points on 5 of 7 shooting. Other than that, though, he's just a productive, competent big, which 72, hey, that's essentially what he is. Going over to the Nuggets, no major, actually, no, that's a lie. There was a major change. JaMychal Green, he went up 4 points. He was a 72 overall, which was absurdly underrated. Underrated dating back to last year, and then he came out shooting gangbusters this year. So he's averaging 11 points, shooting 46% from the field and 50% from 3 this year, and that's up from averaging 7 points last year and shooting 43%, 39% from 3. So yeah, he was definitely deserves that boost. I'll say that. Going over to the Pacers, the perennially underrated Pacers. Doug McDermott, he got a 3-point boost, and he entered the starting lineup recently as... you wouldn't know it, though, because Miles Turner, he has a slight fracture in his right hand, so he's out for, the next couple weeks. So McDermott's starting at the 4, with Sabonis moving up to the 5. And so McDermott, he's really been super underrated the last couple of years. Ever since he joined the Pacers, he replaced Bojan Bogdanovic on this team at a major discount, and he's basically filled the role extremely capably. Over the last 3 years with the Pacers, he's shooting 49% from the field, 42% from 3. Last year he averaged 10 points in 20 minutes. This year he's averaging 13 points in 25 minutes. So just he doesn't start much, but he's always been a reliable, and he's never the top guy on the bench, but he's just super reliable 7th man. So I anticipate him having a Kyle Korver-esque career. He's only 29 now. I can see him playing another 5 to 10 years at a reasonably high level off the bench for NBA teams moving forward. Let's check out the Pelicans. As lots of minor fluctuation and stuff. They've gotten terrible guard play this year. As Eric Bledsoe, by the way, 2K, Eric Bledsoe should be the point guard on this team. Lonzo Ball should be the shooting guard, and that's very easily checkable just by going to NBA.com, checking their play type data, and you'll see. I'm going to do that right now. Eric Bledsoe, 34% of his offense is in the pick and roll. Whereas for Lonzo Ball, it's only 23%, which reflects that he is playing off the ball as a shooting guard more than on the ball, which is what a point guard typically does. So on top of Bledsoe also being the smaller player and Lonzo usually guarding the bigger player, that's my one critique over here. But focusing on the only guard that hasn't struggled for the team, you see JJ Redick he's really tanked hard this year. Hopefully he's able to recover a little bit. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's He's not shied away from the opportunity. He's playing a lot better this year than he did as a rookie. He's averaging 11 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 45% from the field. Last year he was at 37%, and 36% from 3. Per 36 minutes, he's averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. So overall, excellent production. Has a high. I don't know if I completely agree with him having a higher rating than like Josh Hart and JJ Redick, just based on we still are a little early in the game. He's only played 200 minutes this year, 800 minutes in his entire career, and these guys have substantially larger bodies of work. Yeah, I know Redick's struggling, but I just wouldn't read that heavily into it. But that's more of a philosophical decision than anything on my part. Let's check out the Detroit Pistons. They have a number of changes on this squad. Jeremy Grant, he's up 4 points. He's been awesome this year. A lot of people criticize the Pistons for signing him for $20 million a year, but they've been completely vindicated. He's averaging 25 points per game on 47% shooting, 39% from 3, 86% from the line. Last year, he only averaged 12 points per game. So he's doubled his scoring rate. He's only playing 10 minutes more a game. Those are star caliber numbers. So they got a low end all-star at a little bit of a discount. Again, he only makes $20 million a year. Look at what the Hornets just paid for Gordon Hayward. The Pistons, they made a lot of confusing decisions in the offseason, but that, it turns out, was not one of them. Blake Griffin, we talked about Blake Griffin a couple weeks ago. I did re-edit him in one of my streams or analysis videos, something like that. But he's down 3 points to an 80 overall. He still has 28 badges from 2K, so it looks like they still have a number of things that they could tweak here and there. But he really hasn't been himself. I don't think that he's going to go back to being the all-star player that he was in 2019. He's not relying on his offense, on his athleticism at all anymore for offense. He's and it reflects in like his usage rate. But just going over his hard numbers, he's averaging 13 points a game, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 39% from the field, 32% from 3, 73% from the line. 2 years ago, he was averaging 25 points a game on 46% shooting, 36% from 3. And he's actually averaging a little fewer points than last season when he was struggling so badly. Of course, last season's numbers, he averaged 16 points on 35% shooting and 24% from 3. So that was when he knew he needed to shut down because he just wasn't effective at all. So he's averaging fewer points, but he hasn't been as awful as he was last year. Rather, his points are just down as a reflection of like he knows he's not a star anymore. His usage rate is down to 18%. That's by far a career low. He's 28% for his career. He was at 28% last year and 30% when he was an all-star in 2019. So he's pretty comfortable playing a complementary role at the moment. And as mentioned, he's a very high IQ player. He has a great assist rate for somebody with a lower usage rate. It's kind of similar to like a Draymond Green. So he's looking to carve out that kind of role as he moves forward into his career. Obviously, he's never going to be worth $36 million per year, but that doesn't mean that he can't help a team. He's still a pro. He's going to do what he's got to do. And Wayne Ellington, he jumped up 3 points to 75. He's essentially entered the rotation within the injury to Killian Hayes, as they were previously using Delon Wright as a 2-guard, and now they have to use him as a 1. And that's opened up time for him. Josh Jackson's also struggled the last couple games, so Ellington's actually entered the starting lineup as a result. And as a starter, he's averaging, hold on, I clicked the wrong thing. Well, for the season, he's averaging 11 points per game on 49% shooting and 46% from 3. That's a major bounce back from last year, where he averaged 5 points per game on 35% shooting. A completely lost season with the Knicks. Lots of players had their worst year with the Knicks last year, so don't read too much into stats all the time. This is definitely the best year of his career by far, and he considers Detroit home. Like, the only reason that he signed with the Knicks in the first place is because they offered him $8 million a year. Like, it would have been stupid for him to turn that down. but he wanted to stay in Detroit, and he came back, and he's playing well for the team. So let's go on to the Raptors, who all their stars have been trickling down. Lowry's down 2 points, Van Vliet down a point, Siakam down a point. Chris Boucher, he's up 5 points, which you can see he's easily the highest rated center of the team. If you didn't know, Alex Len, by the way, got cut, so it wouldn't be surprising to see the Raptors pick up another player in the coming days, as they are very thin in the front court, as you can see, although Stanley Johnson should be a 4 and not a 3. That's part of it. And OG Anunoby also plays a fair amount of time at the 4 as well. But looking at Boucher, his numbers are off the charts this year. He's somebody you definitely should have been targeting on like your fantasy team or whatever, because his stats have been great every year. It's always just been a question of role. You know, he's been stuck behind Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka the last couple of years, and now he has a clear path to minutes. So he has a 28.4 player efficiency rating. He's leading the league in true shooting percentage with 72%. That's like Tyson Chandler tier, but he's doing it on, where's his usage rate? On a much higher usage rate, on a 20 usage rate. So he's not just like a rim rolling dunker. He does have some offense to him. He's averaging 15.5 points a game and 7 rebounds in only 24 minutes a game, shooting 59% from the field, 48% from 3, and 78% from the line. So overall, just dumb efficient. And he's a great shot blocker as well. He's averaging 2.4 blocks per game in those 24 minutes. Yeah, like per minute monster, Chris Boucher is. And even though he's coming off the bench, in part due to a lot of that just has to do with his frame, as teams will typically start a bigger player for like defensive purposes, and then go to the smaller, faster players on the bench because defenses are weaker, so they're able to take advantage of that with their like athleticism and stuff. So we also talked about Stanley Johnson before. He is a +3, as he basically had a lost year last season. He only played 150 minutes last year in 25 games. He's already eclipsed his minute total this year, and he's played 174 minutes in only 12 games, and we're only a month into the year. So he's been much better than he was last year. Doesn't really reflect in his numbers. He's only averaging 3 points a game, but he's shooting 45% from the field, which is significantly better than he shot the rest of his career. For the first 5 years of his career, he's shot only 37% from the field. So if he's at least shooting like an NBA player, then it stands to reason that his rating is going to go up. Let's head over to the Rockets, and they have the most head-scratching rating change of the. I said I wasn't going to talk too much about the plus and minuses, or the +1, -1s, but like Christian Wood went down a point and DeMarcus Cousins went up a point. Anybody who sees that, they're going to be like, what the heck is going on? You know? So there's not really too much to this. Really, DeMarcus Cousins' rebound ratings, he's rebounding at a higher rate than he did last year. He's blocking shots at a higher rate than he did last year. Those are things that matter to centers. So it just stands to reason that from the statistical noise, his rating is going to go up. The reason why he maintains a high overall is because they need to go through and adjust some of the other things that aren't tracked by statistics, like his post skills. You know, he's not shooting the ball well from close range or anything. Not that he's had a high sample. He's not getting the same usage rate with the Rockets as a backup center that he was with like the Kings, Pelicans, or even the Warriors, you know, before he had all his injuries. So like these are numbers that should go down because it's very unlikely that he's going to be that caliber of player anymore. And it's not just the attributes, it's also the badges. You know, the badges are something that you can't really tie to statistics. They're all very contextual. You know, there's no stat that you can look at to determine that somebody should be a gold or a bronze in like back down punisher or drop stepper or whatever the case. So I mean, Lob City finisher. There are stats you can look at for that. It doesn't take a genius to know that DeMarcus Cousins isn't catching lobs. You know, the player with the torn Achilles and the torn ACL, he's pretty glued to the ground. Who's 30 years old now? He's pretty glued to the ground now. You know, like So some of these just need to decrease in quality as well, and that would account for it. But the main issue with him being an 80, him being a rating like so high, even if we count like he's DeMarcus Cousins, he has a very high skill level, all of that. Like 2K just they don't have a good grasp of what the overall rating like actually does in their game. Like they're making these adjustments, treating overall ratings on like a tier list. You know what I mean? Like if when you treat everything on a tier list, like make just a position based tier list, like so and so's an 82, therefore somebody else needs to be like an 83. That's all opinion. That doesn't matter. That's all like just on paper. In terms of like in-game functionality, here's what the overall rating is actually doing. I'm going to rebuild this rotation. DeMarcus Cousins is starting, not Christian Wood. That's a significant problem. You know, so like you're trying to make yourself look good on paper, but you're affecting the game in a substantial way. If somebody starts in my league with this roster, DeMarcus Cousins is going to start. If somebody starts a my career with this roster, Christian, you know, the wrong players are going to be starting because the AI in the game, even if these guys are like even if Cousins, even if we drop his rating by like 2 points or something, let's go through and do that now. And sorry to hop on my soapbox a little bit. All right, so let's see if that does it. No, still no. All right, we're gonna override. Part of that has to do with like system proficiency and stuff. But where is it? All right, I'm just gonna force Cousins to not start. He's still playing a substantial amount of minutes. He's only playing like 12 minutes a game in real life. The AI in this game that uses the rotation AI, they look at the overall rating to determine the rotation for the rest of the bench. And they're also using that rotation for the rest of the game. Like so it's not so big of a deal here. We're gonna enter the rotations real quick. So like Christian Wood and DeMarcus Cousins, they don't play together in real life at all. We see here that at least the game has kept them separate. They're not staggered. They're not, you know, they play very few minutes next to each other. That's like workable, right? Like you can argue that Christian Wood is a star on the team and he should be playing a lot more minutes than Cousins, who's end of the bench guy. Sure. Let's head over to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have three very highly rated centers. JaVale McGee, he was playing at a very respectable level prior to the trade for Jarrett Allen. So what happens here? Let's just see. They've assigned, here are the rotation minutes that they're going to be playing in quick game, right? Like you can see, McGee's out of the, very small role in the rotation, only 12 minutes a game. He didn't play at all in the game against the Nets. It was just all Drummond and Allen. But let's rebuild. Oops. Oh, snap. You have 88 minutes assigned to centers because the AI doesn't factor in positions when calculating this. It's just going straight off of the overall. So when we enter this rotation thing, now we have a center. We see here Jarrett Allen. He's at the power forward exclusively, whereas the game essentially doesn't know that it's supposed to keep JaVale McGee out of the lineup. That centers, this isn't 1990. You can't get away with double center lineups anymore, So that's something that the game developers, A, need to work on, but B, like the people that are working on the ratings and everything like that, it's like one hand doesn't know what the other is doing. You're just making this on paper tier list, but without giving any consideration to how it affects other modes in the game. This doesn't just fall on the people that work on the roster, though. It's the responsibility also of the people who work on My League, etc., to know what's going on, to be able to look through this and say, yo, this is messed up. This is going to cause issues for players in the game. So it's like, it seems like there's very low levels of communication within 2K. And that's all something that I pick apart from doing these roster analyses. You know? So that was my little soapbox. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sterling Brown, he's up 3 points. He's been playing much better this year than he did with the Bucks the last couple of years. He's averaging 8 points on 52% shooting, 46% from three. He's shooting only 30. Last year he only shot 37% from the field and 32% from three. So substantial improvement for him. I think he's been their best three, and I know there are a lot of people who are like super high on like Daniel House. I think Daniel House, like a lot of that was just like playing for Mike D'Antoni. If you play 30 minutes a game for Mike D'Antoni, your numbers are going to look good. Like he's pretty much at the same level. All these guys are kind of all on par with each other. But Sterling Brown, he's basically this year's Daniel House, as House has been out of the lineup. And just Jayshawn Tate, he's also played well. He was a 69 overall, so he was the most underrated player in the roster last year. They boosted him by 4 points. He's averaging 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 49% from the field, 33% from three, 68% from the line. I actually have his second position at point guard rather than small forward. He's essentially a point forward. As we know, the Rockets have had their slew of injuries at the point guard position. They just traded James Harden, who had been manning the point guard position for them. So it's just something that I've picked up on is like Mason Jones also has been playing mostly point guard this year, even if he is a natural too. But and Dante Exum will play the point as well once he's healthy. But even though these guys have like point guard in their secondary, there are certain lineups where neither one of these guys is in the lineup. And those are the lineups where Tate is essentially the point guard. Let's actually glance at his attributes real quick to see what got boosted. Looks like they boosted his ball handle rating by 10 points or 9 points, something like that, which is also what I did. So I think that makes sense. Yeah, nothing crazy. Like, he doesn't need to... probably just his shot rating. Like, he doesn't need to have like crazy athleticism or anything. Just the ball handle rating and the people knowing that he's supposed to be one of the backup point guards, like the third string point guard or something. I think is important to the team's functionality. And we mentioned Mason Jones before. He's up 4 points as he's on a two-way deal, so not much was expected of him, but he's had to play, and he's played well. He's averaging 9 points on 55% shooting. 55% from three in the 7 games that he's played. So, 68 true shooting percentage, 17.1 player efficiency rating, like solid overall. Yeah, 4-point boost, absolutely. Let's go over to the Spurs. Devin Vassell and Lonnie Walker, the fourth, they both went up 3 points in this update. Let's check out Vassell. As he's averaging 5 points, only shooting 35% from the field, but his rebound ratings have been good, or his rebound rate has been good. His steal rate is up, his block rate. So the shooting will come around. Let me see if he had like a bad game or something recently. Yeah, his last 2 games, he's shooting only 4 of 15 from the field, so his rating boosts may be accounting for, well, okay. He also had a stretch of 3 games where he shot 0 for 10 combined. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think 77 overall is, yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. As since the update, he's only shooting 29% from the field and 21% from three, so he might have been playing well before, but he has since struggled. I would definitely rate Walker higher than him, as Walker has been the starting 2-guard on the team the entire year. He's averaging 12.5 points, 41% from the field, 38% from three. Yeah, I don't know. I don't quite understand that. Like, is there... That's the rebound rating? I don't know. Oh, you know what it is? Okay, there we go. Boom. Like, Walker's probably just underrated, is what it really is. Walker probably should be in, like, the 77 range, and Vassell, something could probably go down. Probably his 3-point rating. I don't know. But let's go over to the Suns. Keep things moving. Chris Paul is down 2 points as the top guys on the Suns haven't been playing well. It's actually just been the role players who've elevated their games. Michael Bridges, he's up 4 points this year. He's averaging 15 points a game, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 51% from the field, 44% from three. So he shot 51% from the field last year, but his three-point shot has that efficiency has improved. He's not turning the ball over at all either. He only has 7 turnovers in 424 minutes. So he's stupid efficient. Part of that is you play with Chris Paul, and you're not going to make a ton of mistakes. He's not going to put you in position to make a ton of mistakes. DeAndre Ayton's down 2 points. Cam Johnson, he's also played well. He's up 3 points, and he just overtook Jay Crowder for the starting position on this team. So on the year, he's averaging 12 points, 46% from the field, 38% from three, and 86% from the free throw line. Let's check out the Thunder. SGA is up 2 points. Hamidou Diallo, completely different player this year. He's up 6 points. That ties him with Xavier Tillman as the biggest mover in this update. When I say completely different player, I mean 23% usage, 18.0 PER. Rebound rates are off the charts. Assist rate is doubled. He's shooting, or he's averaging 11 points per game, 5 rebounds, 52% from the field. And he was kind of out of the rotation last year, but he's been a very important part of it this year, as he's essentially a poor man's Lou Dort, or I guess playing at a similar level to what Lou Dort has been playing the entire year. And Isaiah Roby, he's up 5 points as he's continued to play well. He didn't play at all last year. He only played 11 minutes on the year. This year he has played 194. He has started 4 games, and he's played pretty well in all of them. Let me check his splits real quick. In his 4 starts, he's averaging 14 points a game, 7 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 55% from the field, 38% from three. So pretty solid production for a stretch 4. He's competent, and it's not too much worse than what like Darius Bazley has done the entire year. And we actually see he has a higher rating than Darius Bazley. So who knows if there will be a lineup change or not? But I'm afraid to see what happens if I automate. Oh my God, yeah. This is why the overall ratings matter, dude. Also worth noting, I have SGA at the point guard and George Hill at the 2 guard for what it's worth, as that again ties into what I talked about with Bledsoe and Lonzo Ball earlier with their on-ball, off-ball stuff. As yeah, let's go over to the Timberwolves. Not a ton of new movement here. 9 players, but most of it's all minor. And they're a train wreck, as Karl Towns has been in and out of the lineup. We know that he contracted. He came back from an injury and like almost immediately contracted COVID-19. Obviously, his grandmother died from COVID. It was, or grandmother or mother, one of the two. Either way, a terrible loss. Many months ago, and a number of his family members contracted it. So, obviously, nightmare situation for him. And hopefully, he has a speedy recovery and no complications from that. But Jared Vanderbilt, he's played well in his absence. He's essentially a small ball 5. He's up 5 points in this roster update, and he's only averaging 5 points a game, but he's shooting 64% from the field, and he's doing that in only 17 minutes a game. And he's actually started the last 2 games as Juan Hernan-Gomez has been out, and maybe he becomes the starter long term, because the Timberwolves have the worst power forward situation in the league. They're basically getting nothing from these guys, so maybe Vanderbilt will be the one that give them some stability there, as Towns essentially plays like a stretch 4 offensively. So having a small ball 5 next to him would make a lot of sense, I think. Vanderbilt got a lot of like Dennis Rodman kind of comparisons in his college career. But looking at the Portland Trailblazers, who they have a bunch of injury news, as CJ McCollum, he's up a point to 88, but he's going to miss like a month with he had a leg injury. Somebody fell on his leg during a game. And Jusuf Nurkic, he's also out for like the next 2 months with an injury. So the Blazers, it's back to the bubble Blazers where Dame Lillard's got to carry the team. If the next best guys on your team are Enes Kanter and Carmelo Anthony, oh boy, scary situation. This isn't 2015, Yeah, Gary Trent's down 2 points. I don't really understand why, but Rodney Hood's he's been starting in place of C.J. McCollum in an effort to keep Gary Trent off the bench, but they haven't gotten anything out of Robert Covington or Derrick Jones Jr. either, so like their ratings have been trickling down the past couple weeks. They need something if they're going to hang on. But let's look at the Warriors. They had 10 players with their rating go up or down. The only one of major movement, though, is Juan Toscano, as he's been a surprise, or just not really a surprise. They knew what they were getting out of him when they brought him back. He's been solid, 72 overall. He's started 2 games for them. He's the lowest usage rated, the lowest usage player in the league, but at only 7.5%. But they don't need him to do anything offensively. They just need him to be a hustle defense guy. I'm sure he has a ridiculously low hustle rating though. Oh no, they listed it to 90. Great. Okay, cool. So at least they're sort of paying attention. But let's move on to. All right, actually, James, real quick, James Wiseman, he dropped down a point, which I'm only notating because we talked about a bunch of rookies that went up a substantial amount. So Wiseman has been struggling. He's kind of got stone hands. It's going to be a work in progress throughout the year. So I think that he's going to maintain this level of play at the very least. But yeah, the Warriors are going to need better than that if they're going to look to make a deep playoff push. So it is possible that they opt to bring in another veteran later in the year once they make their playoff, if they're within range to make a solid playoff push. But let's head over to the Wizards to finish things off. Bradley Beal, he went up 3 points. He's having the best year of his career by far. He's averaging 35 points per game, which leads the league. Shooting 49% from the field, career high. 38% from 3, 87% from the line. Yeah, I mean, this is looking at the rest of his career, like 27 PER. That's by far his career best. Last year he was a 23. The year before that, 20. So he's definitely made the jump from like all-star to upper-tier superstar shooting guard. 91, I think, is the second highest rated 2 guard in the league after Harden. He also and Beal also has the highest usage rate in the league, so that's something that you would have thought would go down with the addition of Russell Westbrook. But Westbrook's also been out of the lineup, so that's may have something to do with it. And he's actually down a point, even though he's been out with injury the entire update. And Ish Smith finishes things off. He's just down 3 points because he's been dreadful. The Wizards actually haven't played a game since January 11th, which is 10 days ago. So they only played 3 total games during the course of this 2-week update, and they don't play again until the 24th. And I'm just curious. This might be like this has been a weird year. This might be the first year where like we could conceivably see a team play 0 games over the course of like a 2-week rating cycle. Like the Grizzlies had, I think all of their games for the league were canceled due to COVID, so they're out for the next 3 games. So if if a similar thing happens like the second week, like it's what a year. It's been a weird year. Hopefully things though are on the way up. Like we said, there are some things that we nitpick here, but again, 223 players had overall rating changes in this update, so. Solid movement in the right direction by 2K. I got to give them credit where it's due. And yeah, if you like this content, please subscribe. You don't want to miss an episode of our 2K roster analysis. We're going to be doing this all year. And yeah, this was John Marcus. I'm signing off. See you guys later.